It's your boy, Ed the Dread, aka Eddie Money Mouth. And you are tuned into the Money Mouth Podcast. Yes, sir. You. Aloha Nui Kako. And welcome to the Money Mouth Podcast on Money Mouth Monday. Bam, 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 bam. If you like how fresh this hat and this shirt look, you can go head over to goodvibesgear.com and get yourself some swag. We got everything ranging from hats to accessories to adult shirts, clothing, and youth shirts, clothing, even onesies. Yes, sir. All free shipping from now until we'll see when. Get yourself on there, baby. Yeah. Woo! No, I'm actually kind of stoked for that. You know, it's a thing I've been working on for years and years and years. If you know me, I've been doing tie-dye shirts. I taught geometry through tie-dye at a Boys and Girls Club in Asbury Park, New Jersey. I ran tie-dye Tuesday at the Asbury Park Yacht Club, the bar I worked at, to fund the tie-dye Tuesday for the youth. So I've kind of been doing the clothing line thing for a long time. You know, run a sewing machine, sewed all my own stuff. And now I've finally got the website, I've got the Shopify, I've got all the stuff lined up together and got some samples, and it all looks pretty sick. So if you get on there and order, I'm the person that will process your order. So give me like 2-3 days because I got a whole lot of stuff going on in my life. But as soon as your order is processed, you'll either get a hat embroidered and sent to you straight from a distributor and or a shirt, bag, phone case, whatever, printed and then sent to you from a distributor. So I personally don't have to carry everything around with me like I used to do all the dang time. But with that said, you can't get nothing straight from me. You got to go to the website and order it, and it will be delivered to your door. Again, free shipping. Yeah, goodvibesgear.com. Get yourself some. Nice. So, Money Mouth Podcast coming at ya. Today's topic, how I ended up coaching for 25 years and I'm only 40. Yeah, I have definitely had a longer coaching career than most people in their lives. Um, luckily for me, I had friends whose parents owned outlets for us to work and become coaches as kids. So I actually started my coaching journey, which right now I'm a high school surf coach. I'm a high school ref. I assign all the refs and coordinate all of that type deal for all the high school soccer games on island. I've worked with a few players individually in soccer, but I've kind of just geared myself into surfing and skimboarding coaching, previously having worked for my friend Sean's business, Skim Hawaii, and now just working for the high school that I teach at. Um, but it's been a long journey, and to tell you the truth, the reason why I ended up into a classroom is because of how much I've coached. Uh, at 13 years old, I started working for the Maryland Soccer School, which was the biggest soccer camp in all of Maryland. It was owned by Scooter Skaggs, legendary Scooter, bless you, yes, yes, yeah. His son JD was a friend of mine that we went to middle school and played soccer together there, and then we were rivals in high school, which I don't even think our teams ever played. I don't know who made the schedule. Maybe it was my coach that made the schedule. I don't know. But our teams never played in high school for some crazy reason. But we played against each other in college, and I ended up transferring to Monmouth because of the guy. Really good friend of mine. We lived together for 2 years in college. And he's started a family and has a job in marketing, and I just continued my journey playing, but we've still been close. He's come to professional games of mine and just a good homie, but him and my other homie John were about 15 years old, and they were definitely old enough to get work permits. But as a freshman in high school, I was still only 13. So when all my friends were like old enough to work and getting like mustaches and beards and stuff, I kind of had to drop back down to my level as far as club soccer went because I was still kind of smaller than most people, and these guys were hitting puberty. But outside of this club soccer playing world, I was actually given the opportunity to work, although it was probably illegal because I was too young to get a work permit. But regardless, I worked for the Maryland Soccer School for summers until I think my senior year or maybe into college. But we coached the kids younger than us. And it was one of those things where, a lot of these kids ended up being just soccer players in the area. And as we all got older, it was like, oh, that kid's a baller. And they'd be like, hey, I remember you from Maryland Soccer School. Like, da, da, da. Specifically, like these two twins, the Lee brothers, Alex and I want to say David. Alex and Justin. Yeah, Alex and Justin. Their mom was my science teacher, and they were just like Groms at the soccer camp. And then, they became like some of the biggest players to come out of the high school. One went to Penn State, one went to Maryland. And then they both played for their national team too, outside of the US. So, the camp was a really good place for youth in the area to hone their skills at soccer, but also a place where like all of us that were in the same area could help each other and have players to look up to, whether it was like, oh, I'm in 5th grade and I'm going to the high school stadium to watch this guy under the lights, or you're hearing about them playing in college and professionally. So Maryland Soccer School was like the start to my coaching. But then after that, I ended up working at the local elementary school for the Barty Kids Club, which was like an after school program that my mom was associated with. And I would go there and I would, coach kids on the field that I grew up playing on, which was super cool. One crazy story, one time they were like, hey, mister, kick the ball back to the building, and there's all the kids, they were like all walking back and they're like, yo, just kick it back. And I was so young, I didn't even think like the danger of kicking a ball toward a crowd of kids, but I just blast it. It like slams this kid in his shoulder. He's like on the ground crying, like, oh shit, like this is crazy. But I was only like I said, like 14, pretty young and still trying to figure it out. Definitely wouldn't do something along those lines nowadays. But from, the high school age, when I got to college, I ended up working for the Monmouth Hawks summer camp as well. Right. So just about everywhere you go, I mean, before the MLS became as big as it is now, professional soccer was pretty much your local youth club teams were like your biggest ticket sales. Right. So uh, college was no different. Like we wouldn't be really selling that many tickets unless you were hosting like the conference tournament. But your fans, other than your family, were generally the kids in the community that like soccer, and they'd come and see your team play and win. So I worked camps for my college at Monmouth. I worked summer camps for the Richmond Kickers when I played professionally for them. And then ultimately, I think that I took my coaching like kind of to the next level when I played in Pittsburgh with the Riverhounds. So we had a youth academy at the time that was being built, and it was associated with Everton FC in England. And we had a tiered structure, probably a three skill level tiered structure, aging all ages from 5 and under up to the pro level. So in that time coaching there, I got very good at specifically technical training. Not so much. I mean, tactically, I could play. There's a million people who want to coach a whole team tactically, but I was very good at driving a diagonal ball without looking. I was left-footed, which most people aren't. I had a lot of attributes which I could share with people, but ultimately the attributes that I possessed were much different than most. So when I figured out how I was able to do those things, relaying it to other people and then having that be an attribute for them to, showcase themselves with, was simple for me. So, I mean, I honestly, in that 3 years of working with the youth academy there, I probably worked individually with, I don't know, 10 to 20 players. I would say maybe 5 core players. And out of those 5, like 3 of them went D1. I mean, one, Osas Malkin, this brother was adopted, and I don't think he played organized soccer up until he was in high school. I mean, he grew up in Africa, and like, they're playing in the streets and stuff over there. So he comes to Pittsburgh, and now he's got shoes. Now he's on a team, and he never had any technical training. So I worked with the brother for like 2 years, and he ended up going to Akron with a soccer scholarship, and they were like number 1 in the nation at the time. So I ended up getting very good at being able to convey this information to, an individual and watch that individual as they're doing the things they're doing and, guide them step by step to make them better. And with anything in life, if you actually are paying attention to your practice and putting effort into it, you're going to get much better much quicker. So, like I said, I had players that went to Akron. Another player, I may not have worked with her individually, but for roughly 2 years with her academy group, Delaney Snyder, she went to Louisville, played for the Cardinals, and was like an amazing forward for them. So, um, you know, not trying to toot my own horn, but I've had some success when it comes to working with players, technically individually, right? And that ended up snowballing into being pretty much a team trainer with soccer specific training, a friend of mine's business in New Jersey, which when I was done playing pro soccer, when I moved back to Jersey, I was helping a friend build his business, which I didn't really want to become a part of, as far as like a owner of a soccer specific training branch of the business. I kind of just want to do all my own thing. But I did that for, gosh, I don't know. We were trained. We would be the guy that shows up to run your practice if your coach doesn't really have that great an idea of what's going on. A lot of times, like a coach for soccer, again, this is before it became so big, people were just there to help. The dad might have played in high school himself, but he might not be the best. He wants his kid to be successful. They got a team of ballers and not really anybody to guide them too great. So they could hire us to come out for like a day, one out of the two practices a week, and run a training session, give them like a pamphlet for the next training session, and hopefully their team becomes ballers. Right. So along that time, I joined what was the Jersey Shore Skim Camp. And I was just like the coaching guy on Jersey Shore. I coached skimming all summer for 13 weeks in the summer, and then I just coached soccer for the rest of the year. Uh, from that, I kind of branched off into my own thing. I opened up my own skim camp, the Good Vibes Skim School, and I ran that for 2 years, sponsoring athletes and, creating a progression of advancement for parents to see their athlete. If the kid had never touched a board before, at least the parent is going to be able to see some sort of progression by the end of each day, and especially by the end of the week, they'll be sliding at a minimum. So I kind of found, you know, prided myself on being able to relay technical ability to the athletes and students I was working with, which transitioned into when I moved here. My friend Alec was like, "Yeah, man, you're really good at coaching. They really need substitute teachers. Like, I'm sure, you could find some sort of tie in that." And I did, and it's snowballed into what it is now, where again I'm a high school surf coach, which works out pretty amazing. Right now, one of the things about being a high school surf coach here is that first off, it's we're the only island that has high school surfing, thanks to the homie Kim Ball with High Tech Surf Sports. If you local go buy something from him, he put a lot of work into building this thing and getting Archie Kalepa and all these guys to keep everybody certified and to keep it going. Because as far as high school sports go, surfing is probably the most liable sport there is. We're not on campus. We don't have trainers. It's your coach at a place off campus, and everybody's making it happen, staying safe. Right. So, one thing that is different than a regular surf contest for the high school surf contest is that you put the competitors into skill levels. So there's 5 different skill levels, and as opposed to just like an open contest where like somebody who maybe not have surfed that great for their competitions, you could just get thrown into a heat with the best surfer. Here, it's less stress for the kids that aren't that great. If you've only surfed for a year, you're going to be surfing your competition against kids who have only surfed for a year. So it's not like you're going to be going against the state champion if you're just learning how to paddle, which is super cool. And the reason for that is so that people don't get discouraged. You're not putting a person who's just thinking about competing against someone who has done it their whole life and is super comfortable. And you don't want that person's mindset to be against being into the competition. Which will lead me into today's extra segment. which will be titled Bethany Hamilton versus the WSL. So, if any of you have paid attention to what's been going on recently on the social media world, Bethany Hamilton has quit Rip Curl Women's uh, due to the fact that Rip Curl Women posted a transgender woman as local heroes of Australia. Which, whatever, you can post that all you want. That's cool, right? But in the reality of competing, this Rip Curl woman, local hero of Australia, I believe her name is Sasha Jane Lowerson, who previously competed as like Ryan Egan or Ryan Egget. Uh, like they 3 years ago won the Australia state title longboarding as a man, and now this year won the Australia state longboarding title as a woman. So it's like, fucking what the fuck? So homegirl's like, yo, listen, Bethany Hamilton. If you don't know who Bethany Hamilton is, she had the movie made about her. She's a surfer who was attacked by a shark as a child. And she's a woman with literally one arm and surfs competitively in pro competitions. I think she might just get like the call up to certain competitions now, but she's had a long career as a female athlete. And I mean, you don't want to say it's a disadvantage to her having, one arm less than most competitors, but it's got to be a little bit more difficult, right? And that's kind of the point that or, or that I would think, as far as a coach of athletes of all genders, and seeing competition. You know, I believe Bethany said she'll never compete in a WSL event again as long as they allow transgender athletes. And fucking, I'd co-sign her because when you see boys go through puberty as a coach versus girls go through puberty as a coach, there's a huge difference in their athleticism, right? Again, like I got nothing against nobody, right? I paint my thumbnails because one time I wore a dress as a zombie bride bartender, and all the guys that I knew didn't want to talk to me ever again after. And they all worked in the kitchen of the restaurant. So I'd paint my thumbnails and give them a thumbs up as I walk by to piss them off, right? I'm the teacher that has freaking worn a dress to school because so many people made one of my, like, I don't even know, like cross-dress, maybe transgender students super uncomfortable. So I was like, yo, you won't say that to me if I wear a dress. So, I'm not the person who's going to diss any of them homies. I get plenty trans homies, gay homies, and I love them all the same as I love everybody. But the reality of competition is that like they should get their own division, right? It's a thing with the science where like I don't know what the level of testosterone in your body at this moment does, but like I said, if you're going through freaking puberty as a dude, you're going to be stronger. Your bones are going to be more dense. I hate to break it to them, Sasha, but like if you fucking look at a picture of this chick, it looks like it's still the fucking dude. And I'm not sure if she still got, dude parts or whatever, but that's another weird fucking thing. Like, what was it? The 50-year-old swimmer, it's like this homie's like a professor at a university, but wants to swim against teenage girls. And like, cool, compete against whoever the fuck you want. But now like homie's kicking the ass of little kids and going into the girls' locker room. And like, look, like I had the awakening when you go from high school to college and you're like, oh, there's naked dudes around. It's like kind of awkward at first or whatever. But I've also been the person who's gone to a YMCA and had to change in a locker room where there's like, like younger dudes you don't know. And like seeing how uncomfortable it makes a younger dude like be around someone they don't know who's changing. Like, what the fuck would you ever think the comfort level of a young female being around a male changing or a transgender woman changing in a freaking bathroom with male genitalia? So there's a lot of lines I feel like this shit crosses that like we might need to step back on as a nation because like somehow this shit went from like women's suffrage to like women suffering. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody wanted women's rights. Yeah, let's go. Let's get fucking equality. And now it's like, yo, now that you're equal, the fucking dudes are jumping in, taking all the shit. Just like what like doesn't make no sense. Okay? So, hey, if it's a hot take you don't like, by all means, fuck it. I'm a polarizing person my whole life. But, you know, it is what it is. As a coach, I kind of had to weigh in on that one. Right? I feel as though there should be a transgender league for every sport as opposed to uh letting, because it's not often you see it go the other direction, right? It's not often you're seeing like a woman, a transgender man jumping in and kicking all the guys' butts. It's usually like a dude turned into a woman and just whooping all the girls at some shit they already won as a guy. So whatever. That's how it is. Ed the Dread, Eddie Money Mouth, here to tell you how I feel. Bada boom, bada bing, bada dop ding. If you like to click like. If you feel like sharing, share. If you care, really share. Either way, go to goodvibesgear.com and get yourself some swag, baby. It's your boy Ed the Dread going to the tippy top. Love you. Thank you for tuning in. See you next Monday. A hoo wee ho, Kako.